10 years. Who would have thought 10 years ago I came to Estonia? I had no idea how long I'm gonna stay or if I'm gonna stay, but I ended up staying for 10 years. This August, it has been 10 years since I arrived in Estonia and I've lived in this country. And it has been quite a journey. So let me get you through it. In this video, we are going to talk about 10 years in Estonia. How has Estonia changed in these last 10 years? If you want to see something that has not changed, then wait for the end of the video and I will tell you a few things that have stayed the same and will probably stay the same, hopefully for eternity. So, in case you don't know, my name is Manan. I have been living in Estonia, as I said, since 2014, and I make content about life in Estonia and life abroad in general as well. So if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe, and you will find some pretty cool stuff coming your way, not just about Estonia, but about other countries and cultures as well. So let's dive into it. Point number one is the biggest change that I have seen in terms of looking, and it has been around me and in the city if you have lived in Estonia for quite some time. It has been a lot of buildings and infrastructure. Now, this has been really cool to see. Specifically, the place where I live in the northern Tallinn, in the region of Kalamaja, I have seen huge developments. I mean, this place, Kalamaja, used to be, well, I wouldn't call it like a slum, but well, yeah, it wasn't the most, a place where you could go at night. And right now, it has turned out to be one of the most expensive places in Tallinn to get a property. Another thing can be said about Kopli, which is another region in northern Tallinn, where you would see old dilapidated houses, but now there has been so much development going on and the property prices have gone up as well. So indeed, yeah, that has been quite a change that I have seen around me. Now, in terms of other infrastructure, there have been roads, there have been quite a lot of development in public transport as well. There is this huge new thing, Rail Baltica, being made that will join Poland and the Baltics together, and hopefully it will come all the way to Estonia. I really hope to get on that train one day and travel all the way from Poland to Estonia on a very comfortable train. So yeah, quite a lot of development that I have seen with my own eyes. Change number two, and that is, well, quite a bit of a sore spot for many people, including me. Now, one of the most viral videos that I ever made on this channel about Estonia, actually one of the first, was about how Estonia is a very expensive country. I think I made it back in 2020 or 2021. And I said in that video that Estonia, well, the grocery prices in Estonia are like outrageous. Like sometimes you see the same item being more expensive in Estonia than it is in Sweden. And I actually compared both of these items. Back then, I got a lot of criticism, like in comments and in other places as well, that you can't compare these two things and Estonia is still a lot cheaper in many other things. But now, I mean, since the mainstream newspapers have picked it up as well, it is quite an understandable mainstream thing that Estonia, the cost of living in Estonia has gone a lot up. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that the rents have gone up. I mean, the living cost is still very decent if you compare it to other developed Western countries or the US or Canada. But if you compare it according to the income here, living in Estonia has become very expensive. And it's not just something that me as an expat would say. Well, I'm a citizen now, so not really an expat. But many of my Estonian friends, people who have lived here for a very long time, are actually feeling the pressure. And it's actually not very cheap to live in Estonia. I mean, simple things like milk and eggs and simple household items are a lot more expensive in Estonia. Actually, if there are quite a lot of articles and newspaper articles that compare the prices between Helsinki and Tallinn, and in a lot of these places, Tallinn comes on top. Not to mention the outrageous electricity prices in Estonia that every day come out to be like 500 euros per megawatt hour if you have this exchange electricity package, which means that your electricity price fluctuates every hour. I mean, Finland and other European countries are paying you to use the electricity because they have such a surplus. But in Estonia, I mean, the electricity is still such a huge cost of your utility now, especially when it comes to like heating, for example. You have to think twice. I remember from my own experience, there are so many times when the electricity prices went so up that I actually had to remind myself that I'm not going to use the stove stove, or I'm not going to use anything else, or even the kettle, just so that I don't rack up that enormous amount of bill. So yeah, cost of living has gone dramatically up. Estonia wasn't a cheap country before, but now it has become a very, very expensive country. And that is one of the reasons why I say that if you want to come to Estonia, if you want to live in Estonia, then the best person to live in Estonia is a person who has a source of income outside Estonia. Like for example, you're earning from the US, or Canada, or Germany, places where you have very high income jobs. So yeah. Change number 3, and that is a lot more positive, and that is customer service. Now, when I first came to Estonia, let's just say it politely that customer service didn't really exist. Like for example, anytime I would go to a store, anytime I would ask for something, anytime I would go to like even buy a mobile phone, it actually felt to me that I am somehow taking time, like taking the precious time of the customer service representative here, and they were like so stern. I mean, I know Estonians are generally very cold and very, like stoic, but I mean, the customer service was absolutely non-existent. I mean, it actually felt like I felt guilty if I had to ask something to the customer service representative, no matter where I went. Like even if I went to buy shoes or clothes or a mobile phone, as I said, absolutely non-existent services. Very, very few places back then that I could count on my fingers that actually had some decent level of customer service. But now I feel that due to the influx of foreigners, quite a lot of expats, and the influx of many other people from all the different cultures, businesses have adopted. The quality of customer service has increased so much dramatically. I mean, even if you talk about the state institutions, even if you talk about the like simple services, I would like to give shout out to this one place. It's called Pakendikeskus, which sells, like packaging equipment. And I went there and there were 2 ladies there, and I just asked them if I can get some help regarding this, and they just walked beside me. They gave me they gave me tips. They gave me that, okay, this is the product that would suit you the best. This is the product that might not work for you. And I was so tremendously surprised that, oh my God, I mean, yeah, so happy to see that this was something that actually happening in Estonia, because 10 years ago it would have been a fairy tale if somebody told me that. Number 4, and that is more people, more diversity. I mean, I know that diversity has been polluted quite much by other countries, but Estonia actually feels a lot more diverse. I remember when I first came to Estonia, it would be months before I would see any colored person living around me or in Kalamaja. I mean, I was the first person, Asian, non-European person, that worked at the company where I first got my job. And even in Kalamaja, like the place where I live, which used to be very hip, as I said, I would hardly see any foreigners. And that is like one very popular area of, like Tallinn, which is like the capital city. But now it's almost like you see foreigners, people from Asia, people from Africa, that are sort of like part of the general life here. It's not like they are just students. It's not like they are just people who are just come here to visit, because you can often like spot them tourists very easily. These are people who have actually integrated into the culture. It's so surprising to see foreigners, even though I am a foreigner, speaking fluent Estonian with their partners, who are of course Estonian as well. And that has been a change that is very, very heartening to see. I remember one of the most memorable moment for me was back like 4 or 5 years ago. I went to this grocery store called Rimi, and one of the cashiers there was actually a person of African descent, a black person. And I said, man, Estonia has come so far. You actually see people of African descent driving buses, like public transport buses in Estonia. And great, that's amazing, and that is awesome to see that these people have integrated themselves into the culture, because you can't do all of that without knowing the language or the culture or the people. So, well, great job here done, Estonia. Thumbs up. Number 5, Estonia is a difficult country to enter now. So back in 2014, when I first came as a student, Estonia was still looking for quite a lot of foreign people, because they had a shortage of talent, they wanted more students, and a lot of programs, like tuition programs, were actually free. So there was a huge influx of students, I think till like 2018, 2019, until then COVID hit. At that time, there was another huge influx, and that was of trained professionals, IT professionals. I remember during COVID days, companies like these unicorns like Bolt and Wise, they were hiring crazy. I would get messages every day from people who were moving to Estonia because they got hired. And a lot of people came to Estonia during that time. But now I feel that it is a lot more difficult. It's due to a number of reasons. Firstly, because a lot of the policymakers felt that the students are like foreign students. There has been a huge influx and we can't really tolerate that. So that was one reason why there was a, tuition fee was introduced as well to limit the influx of foreign students. The second big reason that really changed it was the war between Russia and Ukraine. And that meant that Estonia had to divert all the resources that it had towards the support of Ukrainian people. And that meant that you are diverting all the resources that you had, or the scholarships and these funds, from other countries to support in Ukraine. That changed things quite much. And then secondly, it is now also very, very difficult in terms of getting approval for your resident permits and getting approval for your, even if you have an employment in Estonia, because the police department, the immigration department, is heavily scrutinizing all the aspects of your applications. So even if there is a very small hint that this might not be correct, the application might be absolutely refused, and you might have to contest that, and after your appeal it might not be approved, or it might be approved. There is a slim chance to that. But getting to Estonia is a lot more difficult. The process of documentation, the process of applying is a lot more strict now. There is a very, very specific high criteria for people who can come to Estonia now. So yeah, not a very easy country to come in now, at least. Number 6, Estonia is now a mainstream country. What do I mean by mainstream? Now, back in 2014, when I first came, hardly anybody knew about Estonia. I mean, it was a country that probably brought connotations of, like Soviet Union. Oh, it was a part of Russia. But now Estonia had established his brand. Estonia is now well known across the world, and it is not just a country somewhere on the fringes. It's now a mainstream country that a lot of people, a lot of immigrants, a lot of foreigners, expats want to come and settle here. Since I have been sort of like a major part of introducing the country to the world, at least on the world of YouTube, I get a lot of inquiries and people who are coming to Estonia who are asking for these tips. And I'm pretty sure that I've talked to almost all majority countries of the world that people are considering coming to Estonia. And it's quite surprising for me, the diversity or the people who are coming. Sometimes I get messages from people who are like really young and they say, oh, I fell in love with an Estonian girl and she fell in love with me and we want to get married. How can I come here and then get married? And I say, well, yeah, don't get married just like that. I mean, get to know the other person first, like properly, like meet first. But anyway, then there is a lot of other people that I see who are coming to Estonia, especially to spend their retirement, because as compared to other places, like for example, the US or other developed countries, Estonia is still relatively cheap. And if you don't mind the cold and the darkness and the people, the aloofness of the people, and you just want to have something by yourself, you want to be just on a farm all by yourself spending your retirement days, then Estonia is definitely a great place. And a lot of people from the US who are retired people coming to Estonia to spend their life, because cost of living has increased in the US quite a bit, as well as I know. So yeah, Estonia is definitely a mainstream country now. And the final thing that I promised in the beginning of the video, what are the things that have not changed? And I think the top of the thing is that Estonia is still absolutely amazing place to raise a family. Estonia has absolutely great maternity, paternity benefits. It's a great place to raise kids, absolutely clean air, nature, kindergarten facilities, school facilities, international schools, plus the healthcare is like absolutely amazing. If I just talk about raising like kids, yeah, that has not changed, and Estonia has realized that, we definitely need more children, we definitely need more population, and they have built infrastructure around it very, very well. So absolutely, Estonia has been a great place for kids, very, very safe and very, very secure and very, very pure for kids. And number 2 thing that has not changed as well is the Estonian coldness. Like, yeah, they're still the same. Like, it's still extremely hard to get to them, and that hasn't changed. Now, if you want to know more about how to make friends with Estonians, then I've talked about it quite a few times on my channel, and you can find the suggestion at the end of the video. I hope you liked it. Are there any more things that you would like to mention here that have changed in Estonia in the last 10 years that you have seen? I would really like to hear them in the comments down below. Now I'm gonna go off and enjoy the very, very lovely September weather that we have here. Quite shocking. We have a very, very warm September. So see you in the next one.